What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for this week's Open Championship. I'm going to take you through the analytics of the golf course, Royal Troon, the field, and everything else in between to see if we can make some logical, reasonable decisions and get you all prepared for the final major championship of the year. Now, I have two big announcements out of the gate. Number one, the Wednesday live chat is going to be a little bit earlier for this week. It will be at 11 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. I have a television commitment for CBS Sports that I can't move because it's live television. So I am moving the live chat up a little bit. So if you want to go over, that room is available now. Set your notifications, drop your questions, your concerns, your comments, all that fun stuff. You can go take care of that right now. Also, you might want to take care of entering the Listeners League right now because Splash, who has been great at guaranteeing the prize pool for all of our listener leagues every single week and growing them and making them bigger, has added and guaranteed $25,000 to the purse for this week. On top of that, if you are able to put together the optimal lineup. So the way this works is it's a tiers contest. You pick one golfer from each of 6 tiers. If you pick the correct golfer from each of 6, the optimal way, they give you $100,000 extra. They call it the splash pot. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to be perfect. But if you do, not only are you going to win the contest, you're also going to get an extra $100,000. It's a $20 entry. You can enter a bunch of times. It's already filling up earlier than I expected. So go get in this right now. Links in the description. This is all legal and regulated in 40 some odd states, and they're adding new places all the time. So go check and see if you can get in on this. They've been very, very good on these contests for us. Okay, let's jump into Royal Troon. We'll start here on my website, RickRunGood.com. It's a giant database for golf betting and fantasy golf, and there's tools and visualizations. You'll see that throughout this video, but this is the course key stats page. And this is fun because we have 2016 Open Championship history where we have the data from that event. We also have the other Open Championship Rota courses that are going to play somewhat similarly. So we're able to take the data-driven expectations, the results from the 2016 Open, and put together some nice key stats here. So you can see this is a rather difficult golf course, especially, the second third of the holes and the third of the holes. Basically, after you get through the first 6 or 7 holes, you run into a little bit of a gauntlet. And this is the regression model for this week. So this looks at the stats that are available and looks at the correlation to success based on those stats, and then compares those to all the other courses. And right off the bat, as you always see at major championships, you got to be great from tee to green. This is a heavy off the tee golf course. It is a heavy around the green golf course. You just got to be really, really stout here. To put the numbers behind that, it ranks 3rd around the green, which means there's only 2 other courses on the PGA Tour and major championship schedule in which strokes gained around the green is more correlated to success than Royal Troon. It ranks inside the top 8 in both driving accuracy and driving distance. So off the tee is obviously ranked very highly as well. And then tee to green play, because of all of that, is important. The really shocking thing here is that strokes gained putting, really good putters coming in, there's little to no correlation to success in the small sample size that we have. That's the correlation. I want to point out a couple of things here. Open championship venues are always so interesting. So I want to preface this by saying that, yes, there will likely be a weather wave, right? We'll keep an eye on that for Wednesday. Mother Nature often plays a lot of defense at Open Championships, and if there is no wind, if there is no weather, a lot of these courses can be taken apart. Yes, it is a link style golf course with deep bunkering and creativity and lots of styles of golf to play. But I think there are 2 things that stand out to me about Royal Troon that are more unique than other Open Championship venues. And I'm going to pull up the satellite imagery here and the course mapping, which I know you guys like, to kind of talk through some of this. Firstly, these are small greens, very small greens. By my count, I think they're the smallest in the Rota, and a lot of them are shaped like this, where there is a little tongue in the front And as you go farther back, as you get deeper into the greens, they get significantly wider. So here on hole number 2, that little tongue is only 10 yards wide, but the widest part as you get towards the back is 24 yards wide. So basically 2.5x the width as you go farther back, which to me creates a couple of situations. Front pin locations are almost always going to be difficult to access. So you're playing a lot to the middle. You're playing a lot to the back of these greens. They are also effectively smaller because, these greenside bunkers are, the little magnets, right? They try to gobble up a lot of golf balls and cut into some of these greens. And you'll see here's number 3, another situation where the green shape is almost identical. And I think distance control is going to matter a lot. So in my opinion, again, this is a similar shape here on number 4. Missing left and right off your line will be, in my opinion, more penal than missing left and right will be less penal than missing short and long, meaning that you want to have good distance control, even if you're a little bit left, you're a little bit right, because there is more trouble, in my opinion, that you can get into by being off on those short and long shots. And then, of course, I haven't even shown you number 8, which is literally nicknamed the postage stamp. This green, I calculated it to be about 24-ish, 100 square feet, which is tiny. This is obviously the very small one, but the rest of the greens are not much bigger than this. Now, I also think that because distance control is going to matter, coming out of the fairways are going to matter, but that goes on to point number 2, where I find this to be one of the more amazing and unique off the tee courses that we get in the road or that we see in general. When I think of options at an Open Championship course, I think of options around the green. However, I think Royal Troon gives you a lot of options off the tee. And what you're going to see are levels, Jerry, levels, different levels or brackets. I think this course brackets you in off the tee. And what I mean by that is, you can play this yellow line here is 250 yards to a wide part of the green. But if you push it up a little bit farther than that, you start running into trouble, which are these pot bunkers in the fairway, which are going to be incredibly penal. But then even if you try to go up one level after that, there's just another set of bunkers that are going to get in your way. Here's an example on number 2. Number 2 is a short hole. It's 400 yards. You can play it to 250 and remove a lot of the trouble, but anywhere between 250 and 300, if you try to push up to the next level, you've got more trouble. There are a lot of great examples of this. Number 3, you have to, there's this berm or river, whatever they call it over there. I think they call them burns that run through the fairway. Well, are you going to lay back to 270 or are you going to try to push it up to 290? There's also one other really good example they're all good examples. Here's 4. Again, you can try to play it to 275 and split the trouble. You can play it to 300 and try to split the trouble, or you can try to carry everything. But when you try to carry everything, you're now going to effectively go to a smaller dog-legged portion of these fairways. Number 7, I think, is actually the best example of this. Is it 7? Yeah. Look at all my marks on 7 here. 7 gives you, I think, at least 4 viable options off the tee. You can lay it way back. So it's a 400-yard hole. You could just remove the trouble and play it short to about 240 and leave yourself 160 in. If you decide to go up one level, you are now playing it to about 250, but you can't go more than 270. One more level up, you're playing it to 270, but you can't go to 300. One more level up, you go to 300, but now there's still a fairway bunker at 320, and the dog leg that you're trying to cut now is making the fairway effectively smaller. So you're never out of trouble. There's not, we see a lot of major championship venues in which if you can carry it 310, 320, and a lot of this obviously being wind dependent, especially on the coast here at an Open Championship, you can remove all of the trouble. I don't find that to be the case here. I do not think you're going to be able to blindly bomb your way around Royal Troon and remove all of the trouble. I think you're going to need to be much more strategic than that. You're going to need to commit to playing a specific number and then hitting that number and keeping it on the correct level or within the correct bracket or whatever else you want to call it. I don't think you're ever going to be like, okay, red line driver, red line driver, red line driver, red line driver. It's going to be like, no, hit this driver, get it to land at like 305 yards. If it rolls out a little bit, I'm still okay. A lot of that, because the design is it's incredible. I think that they really, off the tee strategy is so good this week. And you see it, even if you have holes like 13 here, where there are no fairway bunkers, right? There's no bunkers out here to bother you. 275 is 41 yards wide in that landing zone. 300's 35 yards wide. Past that, it's down to 30. So you are, by taking on more reward, you are taking on more risk, which is how golf courses should be. And this is how it is off the tee. And you see, look at these pop bunkers. Almost every 25 yards. That is so cool. It is so cool. You're going to have to be so good off the tee. Here's another one where a burn just runs through at 300. Like, what are you going to do? I don't think you can blindly bash driver. So I think you're going to be really, you need to I think you're going to have to play out of the fairway a lot. Brian Harman did this beautifully at Royal Liverpool, where he just never got into trouble off the tee and played out of the fairway a ton. I would like a little bit more distance than that, because there are some places where, because being a short hitter doesn't, like, he was playing like in front of all the trouble. I actually don't even think you're going to be able to play in front of all the trouble, but the longer you go, the more trouble that you get into. So I would like you to be a little bit longer than Brian Harman, but still play out of the fairway. Either way, it is going to be a very, very difficult driving test. So that's the blueprint. And then, of course, because the greens are small, because you're coming in from other areas around the green play, it's going to be awesome. It's really going to be awesome. Let's take a look at this field and start naming some names and start figuring out who could have success here. Here it is, the cheat sheet at RickRunGood.com. There are 6 golfers over $10,000, and I'll just let you know right off the bat, this does go down into the 5K range for this week. So a lot of options when building, and we're just going to start at the top here. Let's talk about Scotty Scheffler. So this is, I believe, a okay spot for him, right? He has been phenomenal this year from tee to green. He's been nothing short of spectacular. His Open Championship history is not particularly great, though it is mostly derailed by his putter. So in fact, you go back to Royal Liverpool, he gained 10.5 strokes from tee to green. You go back to 2022, he gained 8 strokes from tee to green. Lost pretty significantly with the flat stick in both of those places. Well, he's a much better putter now. And I do not think that there's going to be a Pinehurst situation, because the way that the greens work at Pinehurst, very fast, tons of undulation, is just not going to be the case. It's not even going to be possible at Troon. They're going to be a lot slower. I think he's going to have an easier time reading them, and he's still probably going to be one of the best tee to green players in the world. So I'm just downgrading him from a 100 out of 10, absolute lock slam, whatever you want to call it, to like a 9.3 out of 10, right? Relative to Scotty in a lot of weeks, I think it is less optimistic, but I still believe he is one of the best options that you have on the slate. The other thing is that the Open Championship, more so than a lot of other events, can be very random. Can be weird, can be wonky. You can get on the wrong side of a weather draw. You can get unlucky, as opposed to like a Muirfield Village or something of that nature. So that's why, unfortunately, you have to downgrade Scotty just a touch, but you still have to be pretty optimistic about what he is up to. Bryson DeChambeau is next, $11,500. And I will tell you that if you would have asked me this before the year started, I don't think that I would have been very bullish on Bryson's chances at Royal Troon. However, I probably would have said that about the Masters, I probably would have said it a little bit about the US Open as well. In fact, I probably did say it at the US Open. And he has found a variety of different ways to play and contend. And I find even the tee shots here, as we already talked about, to be very, very strategic. And I trust Bryson to be able to figure out the tee shots. Now, I do worry a bit about the rest of his game because his Open Championship record is not very good. A T8 in 2022 is by far the best result he's had. Nothing inside the top 30 outside of that. So again, we're off to a start here where I'm a little bit worried about each of the first two relatively, right? I still think that Scottie Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau are fantastic, but there are some level of concerns. I don't think they're just primo spots for them. And call me, Wile E. Coyote, as I continue to just step on the rake and it smacks me in the face, but there really is no evidence that Rory McIlroy is not going to be in contention and he's not going to have a great week, and he is discounted $1,400 off of Scottie Scheffler. Just to be clear, let's zoom this out a little bit. Last 36 rounds, let's get rid of the Senior Tour guys. We'll get rid of the Korn Ferry Tour guys. We'll get rid of the Asian Tour rounds. Last 36 rounds for everybody in this field. Scottie Scheffler is the best player in the world, 3.09 strokes gained per round. Rory McIlroy and Xander Schauffele are a solid second, 2.3 strokes each. So Rory McIlroy, and we can do this a different way. We can say since the start of the calendar year, something I like to do as well. So since January 1st, everybody in this field, Rory McIlroy, there's no player in the world who has played as many rounds as Rory as well as Rory. Okay, Rory's at a 2.0 in 64 rounds. Scotty's at 59 rounds, 2.7. You've got Erdy Els, John Catlin, some Asian Tour guys. But you're talking about, in all likelihood, Rory McIlroy being the second best player in the world, if not the third best player in the world, at the absolute worst, the fourth best player in the world. With an unbelievably high floor, with a great Open Championship record, I realize the winning drought that we are in. I realize he has not won a major since this 2014 Open Championship. However, he has 5 top 6 finishes since then. He did not putt well last week at the Scottish Open. Lost a stroke and a half, which is his biggest loss dating back to the Cognizant in, February of this year. The amount of strokes that he left out there, and I know that you can say this for anybody, but the amount of strokes that he left out at the Renaissance Club was pretty telling, especially over the course of the weekend. His C+ game was good enough to finish T4 there. So call me a fool, call me whatever, but I don't see a scenario in which Rory McIlroy doesn't contend here. Xander Schauffele, I don't think we need to spend too much time on Xander. He's incredible. Everything I just said about Rory McIlroy, about having a high floor, having probably being the second best player in the world, that all relates to Xander as well. There's no reason to be concerned about any of his history. It's good, not great. He had a runner-up finish in 2018 and then a bunch of okay finishes outside of that. I'm very interested to see what the industry does here. Will everyone be stocking up on Scotty because he's the best player in the world? Will everyone overplay Bryson because they only really get to play him 4 times a year? Will there be a lot of love for Rory? And what does that do to Xander, right? That's what I'm most interested in. If we get in a world where Xander is the forgotten guy in the 10K range, you're going to see me allocate a lot more resources in that direction. We'll see. We'll know that early in the week, and we'll be able to dive deep into it on that Wednesday live chat. Jon Rahm and Ludwig Åberg are next. And this is really, for me, one of the most valuable things and one of my favorite things about my website, RickRunGood.com, is I not only have deals with the PGA Tour for all their strokes gain data and the Korn Ferry Tour and the Senior Tour and the European Tour, but also with Live. So having the metrics here and seeing that Jon Rahm gained 3 strokes off the tee in Spain last week and another 2 on approach. This is one of the best stat profiles that Jon Rahm has put together since Live Miami. Now, I do think that there is more to the Jon Rahm story with what's going on between the ears when he gets to major championships, as opposed to just what's going on the golf course. But when he has played, he's played very well, right? He withdrew from Houston, Live Golf Houston with the foot or toe injury, did not play the US Open, maybe that was the major championship reset that he needed. And I'll be interested to see, this is another guy where, if we can get him at some discount, I am still quite bullish on Jon Rahm's chances. I just think that he is too good to not be to just basically whiff the majors this year. T11, third, 34th, and runner-up in his last 4 Open championships. It's just so good. It's just so good. And then Ludwig's the last guy. And I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't simultaneously impressed and concerned about what I saw from him. He has really struggled in final rounds, dating back to the Masters. Now, he has still posted a ton of really great finishes, a lot of really great metrics. The 4.7 strokes that he lost on Sunday at the Scottish Open is second worst round in Oberg's career. It's a short career, but he's got a lot of rounds, and it's the second worst. You don't like to see that when you have a 2-shot lead. That's pretty concerning. So I am probably not going to have a ton of Ludwig. Maybe that comes back to bite me. Maybe it doesn't. This is his first Open championship. I know he's very, very competent in link style golf, but there's just too many other good options here. Rory and Xander and Scotty, and then maybe pivoting to Jon Rahm or seeing what people do with Bryson. There's just so many good options. And even as you go down into the 9K range, it just is, it's too good. It's frankly too good. Here's the 9K range. It starts with Colin Morikawa. It has Viktor Hovland, Tyrrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood, Patrick Cantlay, and Brooks Koepka. I'm all in on Colin. I was all in on Colin last week. I have been showing this stat profile week in and week out and saying, how is he not winning? When is the win coming? Because it's coming soon, and maybe multiple of them. If you go to the trends tool, you'll see that over the last 36 rounds, he is trending as basically the 4th best player in the world. So what that means is it looks at what he's done in the last 36. It compares it to his last, to his 100 round baseline. And it shows you that he's actually playing 3/4 of a stroke over his own 100 round baseline. Guess what? His 100 round baseline is very, very good. So this bumps him up to like a 2.24 player, which is an incredible rate. It's anytime you're gaining over 2 strokes per round, you could be in the conversation for the best player in the world if you do that for an extended period of time. And that's where Morikawa is at. Now we have Scotty, who's breaking the system and playing to a 3, which is just dirty, but it's a very, very small list of players who can get themselves into this category here. Outside of it, he has such a strange Open championship record, the win in 2021 and then 2 consecutive missed cuts, played well at the Scottish and coming in just putting beautifully. I think that he looks dialed. I think he looks confident. I know that is kind of outside the scope of the data, but I like the way, outside of a couple, he should have won the Scottish Open. He played the second 9, which was so gettable at the Renaissance Club. He played it horribly. He did take a couple of swings where he dropped the club and looked like he got spooked a little bit. But all things considered, I thought he played very confidently and very well last week. He is often a very accurate driver of the golf ball, which we know is going to be critical. He pounds greens and has great distance control, which I think is going to be huge this week. And he has a very underrated around the green game. So I don't know if, he's the type of guy where he's not just, where he can gain strokes off the tee by playing out of the fairway, and he's long enough, right? He's not just super long, but sprays it. This is the type of guy that you would think would be able to kind of play well at Troon, considering what we looked at with the severe strategy that you need to take off the tee. And I'm kind of playing the hits here. Right? I got a lot of questions in the live chat last week about my feelings on Viktor Hovland, and I voiced concern, and I'm still very much there. I wanted to see, and I still want to see a good stat profile week from Viktor. We haven't seen it since the PGA Championship. He was working towards it, and now we're starting to see that around the green game, just it's decimating it. I do believe, and again, this is not, I have a nice relationship with Viktor. This is my opinion. It's nothing I've spoken to him about, but I do think the around the green struggles are putting more pressure on other things. He missed a couple of short putts last week, something that you don't usually see him do. He had a couple of shots last week. When you watch a lot of rounds from Victor, he is a very confident golfer. And last week, he was hitting a lot of shots where he was immediately talking to the golf ball. As soon as it's off the club face, it's get down, get up, do this, do that. And that to me says he is not making the same solid contact that he is used to. That's what that says to me. And you can kind of see it in the numbers here. He loses a stroke on approach at the Travelers, another one on approach at the Scottish Open. And when you are missing in the wrong spots at these rota courses, you're going to be asked to put a lot of pressure on your around the green game, which is obviously something that he struggled with. He's lost there like 11 out of his last 12 starts. So I'm would be thrilled if Victor won this golf tournament. I'd be happier if he won than basically anybody else. But for our purposes here, I need to see a stat profile trending in the right direction, because you're paying $9,700 and the two guys below, Tommy Fleetwood and Tyrrell Hatton, are going to be fairly popular. Let's start with Fleetwood, because I think most people just run Tommy out there in like back to like, okay, it's the Scottish swing, back-to-back starts. And he got off to a really good start and struggled on Sunday. If we're not going to beat up Ludwig for struggling on Sunday, if we're not going to beat up some of these guys for having one bad round, you can't beat up Tommy Fleetwood. So I'm interested to see how many people go back to him, because the truth of the matter is that Tyrrell Hatton is probably outplaying Tommy Fleetwood at the moment. And that goes for three good major championship performances this year. T9 at the Masters, he makes the cut, finishes 63rd at the PGA Championship, and then T26 at the US Open. Since then, he backs it up with a win in Nashville at Live and a third place finish in Andalusia. So that is 6 combined rounds in which he's gained a half a stroke per round off the tee. He has gained, I can't do math on the fly here. 2 strokes on approach in total over 6 rounds. Very stout short game in which he's gained 4 in a row, and he's lightning hot with the putter right now. I would have liked it had they not played Valderrama last week and they had played the Renaissance Club, but I don't always get what I want. And it hasn't really stopped Hatton's previous major championship preparations for this year. Or for other majors this year. And if you see, I bet you he's got some really good trending stuff here. He's playing more than a half a stroke, 2/3 of a stroke over his 100 round baseline. Again, his 100 round baseline is very good. Who is screwing up our breakout? Oh yeah. John Daly on the breakouts candidates tool is just skewing everything and scrunching everybody up in here. That is annoying. I might have to adjust that. I might have to remove him or readjust these axes, because that is very annoying to my eye. But I do think that there is a lot of things to be excited about for Fleetwood, for Tyrrell Hatton and Fleetwood too. But I think I'm more excited about Hatton. Now here's your X factor right here at $9,100. This is your X factor. This is the guy that either wins you all the money or misses the cut, because we've got Patrick Cantlay at $9,100. Hasn't played since the Travelers Championship 3 weeks ago. Out of sight, out of mind. Hasn't really had a great 2024, but his best 2 starts have been his last 2 starts. US Open T3, Travelers T5. He has underperformed in major championships in his career. He's made 4 of his last 5 cuts at the Open, a T8 in 2022, a T12 in 2018. If we ever get that first breakthrough major championship win for Patrick Cantlay, it's going to be with like a 4% ownership and nobody's going to, be involved in it. That would be the perfect way. But we can all agree he's an unbelievable player with great upside, very low floor, who's playing the best golf of his season right now. Two very small sample sizes, or, one very small sample size is 2 events, but he's playing the best golf of his season right now. He is about as cheap as you're ever going to get. I'm scrolling through here. $9,100 for Patrick Cantlay. The last time he was this cheap was the 2023 Genesis Invitational. So that was over a year ago. He finished third. Outside of that, the 2022 PGA Championship missed the cut. 2021 Open missed the cut, and 2021 US Open finished T15. So we're in it's been 18 months since you've been able to get Patrick Cantlay for $9,100, and he's coming off back-to-back top 5 finishes. That feels like a very interesting spot to buy back in. Here's the 8K range, and I honestly feel that these are basically a bunch of guys who are quietly lurking. I don't think they're going to be incredibly popular. I think they all are live to win. Most of them are coming in great form. No one's talking about them. I've been very bearish on Cameron Smith this year, and it hasn't burned me. I've gotten away with that in basically every situation. He did have a good Masters, T6, T63 at the PGA, T32 at the US Open when a lot of people were excited about him. That US Open, it started a couple of things. He started to hit the ball a little bit better. He gained 4 strokes on approach and then backed it up in Nashville with 1.1. And now since then, he has 2 back-to-back top 10s, 9th and 6th on LIV. He's got one of the best short games in the world. I will not deny that. But when he was going his best, and I'm sure I've showed this before, he was a very, very good second shot player. He's a very good approach player. And we've gotten, I'll give this to him, 3 decent approach weeks in a row. I understand he lost a stroke at Andalusia, but you add up his last 10 rounds and he's gaining 4.5 strokes, 4 strokes, something like that. I can live with that when you're the best short game player in the world and you have this Open Championship record. 12 rounds, 2.16 strokes gained per round. This actually only dates back to 2020. You can go back even further than that and get some even more better stuff. So his last 4 Open Championships are T20, 33rd, win, 33rd. I can live with that. So we're taking a couple of breadcrumbs here. Cantlay, breadcrumbs in the right direction. Cam Smith, breadcrumbs. Tony Finau might be laying out more than breadcrumbs. Tony Finau might be laying out loaves at this point. Look at this trajectory that he's been on. T18 at the PGA Championship, T17, T8, T3 at the US Open, T5 at the Travelers Championship. Again, hasn't played in 3 weeks, so you kind of get this like forgotten man syndrome. Here's his major championship record, and just kind of look through the Opens. Missed the cut last year, T28, 15th, 3rd in 2019, 9th in 2018. It's pretty good. T18 before that. There's nothing about link style golf, Rota golf, that screams Tony Finau to me. But for whatever reason, he gets it done. And now he's playing a lot better. And this is another, again, if 2 event sample sizes are all you need, I'm sorry, I'm looking at just his majors, but I'll squash that. But I'll show you this. Similar idea. He's starting to putt better, which when he was going well, look at all the green, look at all the strokes he was gaining putting, which is like, 2022 leads up to the back-to-back victories. He's a great putter. Into 2023, he's putting well. Then he hits a wall last summer and he loses strokes putting basically every single start. And you see him tinkering. Well, now he's back. So his last 5, he's been a 0, plus 1.7, plus 1.7, plus 2.3. I'm going to star Tony just so I don't forget about him, because nothing about this screams Tony Finau should be an Open champion, a champion golfer of the year, but awesome. I'll go quickly on a couple of these other guys here. Tom Kim, I think he just posted one of the better approach weeks that we saw, or ball striking weeks that we saw. Yeah, 6.5 strokes, gained ball striking at the Scottish Open. He was a 0 around the green, a 0 with the putter. Got a little bit away from him on Saturday and had 2 really good rounds, 2 bad rounds. He's low-key pretty good at link style golf. Wyndham Clark. I want to look up Wyndham's links history. He went nuts on Sunday, and gained 6.5 strokes to the field. So one round really improved his positioning, but he finished T10. So now he's got T9, T10. I want to look at his Open Championship stuff. Yeah, 76th and 33rd. He does not strike me as a great link style player. And I worry about how he's going to attack this place off the tee, or how it's going to attack him, quite frankly. Shane Lowry's been good. Let's look at Lowry. Lowry can be very tricky, though, because he's one of these guys who can just pick up. Yeah, see, this is good. This is what you want. This is, okay. Wow. I'm going to star Lowry before I forget, too. So we've got a situation brewing here. Lowry finished T6 at the PGA Championship. It was entirely fool's gold. He gained 9.5 strokes putting. That was unsustainable. We knew that. We said he's gonna have to hit the ball better. Well, he has. Hits it well at the U.S. Open and putts well. Hits it really well at the Travelers. Gained 6.5 strokes ball striking there. If we can marry these things, because he's now hitting it better. He always putts it pretty well. He's got great Open Championship history with the win, 12th, 21st, missed cut in his last 4. Obviously creative enough. Obviously good enough. Won the Zurich Classic with Rory this year. Yeah, that's pretty good. There's a chance he snaps off and wins this thing. As fun as the 8K range was, the 7K range is a lot less fun. If Jordan Spieth plays well, it will not be with my support. He just has not shown the ability to turn up at places that he is supposed to turn up. I'm talking about Augusta. I'm talking about Harbor Town. I am talking about last week in Link Style Golf. I cannot do it anymore. He's just not good enough right now. And if he does anything, congratulations. As much as I love Joaquin Niemann and how well he has played on LIV, basically all his success this year has been on LIV, and he's not been a good Open Championship player. Robert McIntyre has, and he has 2 wins this year, but he's going to be incredibly popular because that pricing came out before the victory at the Scottish Open. So now he's got 2 wins. You know who has 2 wins this year, or multiple wins this year? Scotty Scheffler, who has 6 of them. Rory McIlroy, who has 1.5 because 1 was a team event. And then Robert McIntyre has 2. That is it. It's really interesting. But probably won't get there on McIntyre. Cam Young. Oh, also, while we're doing the negatives, you know, the amount of gray hair I've earned from Justin Thomas over the last year or so is too much. Again, last week, he fools us with opening up with an 8 under 62, looking phenomenal, doing something he's never done, which is gain 3.5 strokes ball striking and 3.5 with the putter. And then he's miserable for the rest of the week, loses at least 2 strokes every single round, and just coughs it all back up and then some. So I don't think you can fool me again. Cam Young, Corey Connors, Sahith Theegala are probably the ones in this range that have my attention. Maybe I'm sorry. We'll get to 2 more in a second. But here's Cam Young, who this is what we need from Cam. Be back to having a positive short game, which is something that when he won Rookie of the Year and had those multiple runner-up finishes, that's what he was doing. He was being a great bomber, a great driver of the golf ball, and adding a really strong short game to that. Lost the short game, but there's a chance that it's coming back. He's gained in 3 straight around the green. He's been a 0 putter in his last 2. Those have produced very good results. And if you look at his Open Championship results, the last 2 years, he's gone T8 and runner-up. So, yeah, he's on my list. Corey Connors, who I'm not a huge fan of, just because I often think that he cannot putt well enough he cannot out-hit his bulky putter, has putted very well in 3 of his last 5. So he gained 7 strokes putting in Canada, 3.4 at the U.S. Open, and 4 at the Scottish Open. Those slow, easy-to-read, link-style greens help guys like Corey Connors. And we know he can get to the green. I'm growing optimism with Corey, which probably means we're all going to get smoked on that, but just there's at least a stat reason for it. And then Sahith is here. I just kind of throw everything out the window with Sahith. He's just a very good golfer. I couldn't even probably tell you what a good golf course is for him because sometimes he plays well when he shouldn't, and sometimes he plays horrible when he should play great. It just, none of it makes any sense, but he's a very, very talented golfer who has a seemingly improving style every single week. The other two here at the bottom, I could absolutely endorse Sepp Straka and Akshay Bhatia. So Sepp Straka is going to try to do this the Brian Harman way, which is play out of the fairway constantly, avoid pot bunkers, hit greens in regulation, and try to make enough putts. I worry about the last part because he's been hemorrhaging strokes with the putter. He's lost in 4 straight. It's kind of kept him from putting together some really good results because the rest of his game has been fine. But this is, he has a path, right? Which not a lot of guys have a path at Royal Troon. And Sepp showed it at Liverpool, right? He finished runner up to Brian Harman. Now he was multiple shots back, but gained 11 strokes ball striking. He putted it well. And he's in the midst of the best year of his career. And then Akshay, who is turning into a phenomenal putter, who drives it so well. I mean, look at this stat profile. This stat profile, this is a guy who should probably have multiple wins this year. That Rocket Mortgage T2 should have been a win. Well, now he's $1,800 cheaper than that. Or was it the Travelers that he coughed up? Why am I thinking it was the Trap? Oh, boy. He lost 2 strokes he lost two strokes on Sunday, TPC River Highland. I guess the fact is that I can't remember which one of these he coughed up is good because he was in like the final group 2 weeks in a row. So he's playing well. He's playing great golf. He already has a win this year. I like those guys better than others in that 7K range. It's really easy to pay up for guys because the 6K range is jam-packed with great options. I could not possibly go through all of these guys, but I'm just going to highlight the ones that maybe you haven't considered. Davis Thompson coming off the win and then a decent finish at the Scottish Open immediately following is impressive. Sungjae Im is, if we took out the major championships from his season, would be having one of the best seasons of anybody. Now, I know that this is a major, but it's not like he can only play well in regular PGA Tour events. He has 7 top 12 finishes in his last 10 starts. The other 3 that he has not are all the 3 majors. But this is such a good stat profile. Louis Oosthuizen. If you go to the trends tool, you will see that Louis Oosthuizen is basically again, get rid of the Asian Tour rounds, get rid of the Senior Tour rounds. He's like a top 10 player in the world, top 12 player in the world. And I'll show you his profile. He's been crushing it on Live. He did withdraw in Houston, but he finished 13th and T4 outside of that. He played 1 Asian Tour event this year. He finished runner-up in that. So he has 3 different runner-up finishes this year, no wins. Just vintage Louis. At the end of 2023, he had back-to-back wins on the DP World Tour. Those were both in South Africa, I believe. It's a great profile. He has $6,800. You are not asking him to do very much. I'm serious. He's having like one of the best seasons of his career. Now he's just doing it in a place where nobody's probably paying attention to it. 23rd last year at the Open, 3rd in 2021. He's got 4 top 28s in his last 5. I think at $6,800, you'd take any one of those. Adam Scott nearly won it last week. Playing great golf. We've talked about him a lot this year. He's $6,700. Mean Dean Burmeister has played 2 Opens in his last 3 years, 40th and T11. He keeps putting together great results on Live. He actually found the winner's circle earlier this year. We were like 2 weeks early. We were like a week early. In Miami, he won. He finished T17 last week and he lost strokes ball striking. He never loses strokes ball striking. He's a very, very stout player. If you don't think I'm going back to, if you don't think I'm not going back to Tom McKibben, you're crazy, because I am. Misses the cut on the number last week at $7,000, and now he's 6,500 and still has all these great results leading into this. Made the cut at the US Open, has been crushing the DP World Tour. I don't care about missing the cut on the number. It is not going to influence me much at all. Sam Horsfield has 3 straight top 25 finishes, including a runner-up on LIV. He is only $6,200. I will pull up Tiger Woods' stat profile, because any chance that I can show a Tiger Woods stat profile and get his headshot up here and look at all that, it's fun. It's not pretty. I don't think this is going to go well for him, but I hope I'm wrong. He just doesn't have the game. The approach play's not there. The putter's not there. I mean, he's just, look at the stat pro. It's just not good. But just for old times, let's just click his wins and look at his wins. Oh, yeah, there they are. Oh my goodness, they're beautiful in all their glory. Yeah, we give the Tiger nod, but no investment from Tiger for me. The $5,000 range, still plenty of great options. We were all in on John Catlin last week. He did not win at LIV, though that was probably a pretty big expectation. But he finished T23, gained strokes to the field, continues to have this really good run where he won twice on the Asian Tour in back-to-back starts. Then he's been getting some starts on LIV, filling in for Charles Howell III. He's been playing on the Asian Tour. He goes back and forth, goes to Morocco. He finishes runner-up. Still very much in on John Catlin. It does feel like there's a little bit of a dead zone here. Matthew Jordan played well enough last week to get you back involved. Marcel Siem was okay. I feel like there's a little bit of a dead zone, but then you get like Matteo Montecero at $5,400. Matteo Montecero's been awesome this year. The resurgence has been great. He finished 15th at the Scottish Open. Now the pricing came out before that, but look at what he's done. He's gained 5.5 strokes at the Sodal, 10 ball striking at the KLM, 5.8 at the Italian Open, 1.7 at the BMW International Open, and then 8.3 at the Scottish Open. He's $5,400. I bet you, let's see what his Open Championship history is. It's probably way back. Yeah. Hasn't played an Open since 2016. Here, missed the cut. So remember, he had that, pretty big downturn in his career, but is playing a lot better now. He won in March on the DP World Tour. The fact that he is $5,400 is jarring. In fact, if I take everybody in the 5K range and just sort by strokes gained total in the last 36, you get Ernie Els, who's beating up on old men, John Catlin, who's beating up on the Asian Tour. Then you get Matteo Montecero. He's third there. And he's probably playing on the most competitive tour of all those guys. He definitely is. That's not even a hot take. He's probably, though, because of how good he is and what a good value is, he's probably the lowest I want to go. I know Ernie's won 3 times in his last 5 starts, but I'm not super interested in that. There is, where's my other guy here? Oh, here he is. 5,300. Jesper Svensson. Made the cut at the Scottish Open, finished 34th. I actually thought it was better than this. He won in Singapore in March. He's got a couple of decent finishes, couple missed cuts. I actually thought he'd been playing better than that. Good putter. Seems to be a little struggle with the second shots. I actually thought it was a better stat profile than that. Okay, let's see what the model has to say. Custom model, RickRunGood.com. This allows you to put in anything you want, and kind of go from there and have it pump out rankings. Then you can create lineups and all that. So let's zoom out here. We've got to do weighted strokes gained for some baseline because we've got Ernie beating up on old guys and we've got, all that stuff, right? So weighted strokes gained for 15, that'll just give us our solid baseline. Then we need to talk about driving. 12 on accuracy, 8 on distance. 5 on fairways gained. Approach play. I am going to do greens in regulation because they're small greens. because more guys from more tours have greens in regulation as a stat, I want to do it. And I also think that helps with distance control too. So I'm going to put 10 on greens in regulation and then 10 on strokes gained approach last 24. So it'll give us 20 on approach play. Around the green, put 10 on scrambling, 6 on sand save specifically because of these bunkers, and then we will put 10 on strokes gained around the green last 24. We have 14 left. We will put a little bit on putting. Obviously, I don't care too much. We could do putting on slow greens. Could put 5 on putting with slow greens, and then we could put could do 5 on strokes gained putting last 36, and then put our last 4 on like bogey avoidance. All right, my number one golfer is, Scotty Scheffler, no surprise, but it's a pretty small gap. Colin is 2, Xander is 3, and they're very close to one another. Look at this. Ludwig is 4. Look who is 5th, Sung Jae. I think Sung Jae is probably wildly mispriced. Fleetwood is 6. Rory is 7. Harman is 8. Tom Kim is 9. Christian Bezuidenhout is 10. He withdrew last week. I got to look into why that might have been. Sepp Straka is 12. I'm just favoriting some of these guys that we talked about so that I can remember them for later. I could have this clear my favorites every single week, but I like to keep them around to see who I went with. I just don't want to forget about some of these guys. So where else? Like Akshay, I don't want to forget about. Mateo at $5,400 is my 38th ranked golfer, which I think is pretty good. I'll favorite Cantlay just because. Get rid of Rasmus, get rid of Keegan. He does not have very good Open Championship history. I'll hit Lowry here. Where was Cam Young? I'm sure I scrolled past him, right? Maybe I didn't. Jordan Spieth's 55th for me. Okay, so Lowry I got. I just want to make sure I have my bearings here because it's early in the week, obviously, as I do this. Get rid of Sean Crocker. Sorry, buddy. Get rid of Pavone. Where was... Wow, Bryson rates out very poorly for me. He also doesn't have... The problem is the live stuff doesn't help him a whole lot. Yeah. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save this because we will obviously come back to this. So 24/07/14, Monday, Open Championship. So we'll come back to this on Wednesday. All right. That'll do it. Thank you very much. Go and fill the splash contest. $25,000 guaranteed plus $100,000 if you get the optimal. I will see you guys on Wednesday. Best of luck. Later.